about body image is Natasha Devon, writer, speaker, podcaster, campaigner, LBC radio show presenter, and the author of Toxic, A Beginner's Guide to Being Mental, and Yes You Can. The first mental health champion for schools until she spoke out against the government, Natasha educates young people, teachers, and parents on gender equality, mental health, and body image. Natasha is out to talk about girls and exercise, boys and body dissatisfaction, and how parents can help their children change their social media wallpaper and feel good about their body. So you are my hero. I love that you are so outspoken and so honest about things. You campaign for mental health and body image, and both of those are related, and they're also related to self-esteem. So you've got 3 tips for young people on how to love the skin you're in. What are they?
Generally, I would say that the 3 tips are, first of all, make sure that you expose yourself to diversity. And that kind of plays into the second tip, which is realizing that health and weight are not interchangeable. Like, too often we conflate them. And one of the biggest myths that I think we're sold from a very early age is that health looks a certain way, whereas in fact, if you are doing your best to lead a healthy lifestyle, then you look exactly how you're supposed to look. That then helps us with the third thing, which is not to compare ourselves to other people. Our bodies are unique. They're ours. They're the only thing we'll ever have in our whole lives that we truly own. The first step is respecting your body, respecting it for keeping you alive and housing your soul, and listening to it and doing your best by it. Fashions change, and this is something that I talk to teenagers about, how many of the things that we think about what it means to be attractive or beautiful are just social constructs. They're not innate in any way. I talk to them about how the way I look was not considered in any way aspirational when I was a teenager. I grew up with very, very Caucasianized ideals of beauty, and in particular, I was teased at school for having big lips. To the extent that I used to talk with my hand in front of my mouth when I raised my hand in class, because I was so self-conscious. And now I literally get people stopping me in the street sometimes saying, "Where did you get your lips done?" And I'm like, "In my mother's womb," very exclusive clinic. So I do think that if you just do you, eventually you'll come into fashion.
So you oversaw the TV show Naked Beach, which aired on Channel 4 in 2019. So tell us about that pretty amazing show and some of the takeaways from the lesson plans that you developed for kids age 13 to 16 based on the show.
Naked Beach was such an incredible TV program, and it was based on a piece of research that Dr. Keon West did. And what the research found was that if you have low body image satisfaction and you spend time around a diverse range of naked bodies, then it improves your body image. So we sent some people, their body image satisfaction issues were affecting their lives. We sent them to live for a week with 8 naked body positivity campaigners on a Greek island. Their body image satisfaction improved, every single one of them, throughout that week.
And also, wasn't part of the issue as well, the idea that to spend time alone naked as well, and that helps you also improve your sense of body image?
Yeah, they had to do naked homework every night. They had to stand in front of a mirror for 20 minutes naked. But then eventually they did get to a point where they were like, I feel much more comfortable and okay with this. It's just a body. Yeah, we're all naked underneath our clothes. It's fine. The impact lasted. And I think certainly part of the reason for that was because they had made friends with the 8 body positivity campaigners on social media. And so now their social media is just full of inspiration and positivity and diversity, which kind of kept refreshing that message. So that's where the idea for the body image lessons for 13 to 16-year-olds came about. We used clips from the show to kind of kickstart discussions. And then at the end, their challenge is to look at their social media and say to themselves, how is it actually making me feel? What the people I follow are posting, is it actually working for my well-being? And to try and populate their social media wallpaper with something that's going to make them feel better about their bodies.
But look at cultures like Scandinavia or Denmark, where my Outspoken co-founder is from, and where people are used to seeing each other naked in changing rooms and things like that. They are more comfortable and feel more natural with their bodies and being naked.
It's so true. And I also think that Britain in particular has a really messed up relationship with nudity, because it's almost like it's only okay if it's sexual. You know, for a long time, for example, we had breasts on the third page of our best-selling newspaper, one of our best-selling newspapers. But if somebody breastfed in public, it was like, oh, scandal. And it's like, you can't get them out in public to do what they were literally designed to do, but it's okay for titillation in a newspaper. Nudity in any other context, where we almost get quite kind of buttoned up and Victorian about it.
So yeah, tell us your advice about kids and social media and body image. And you mentioned the kids being able to choose who's in their, their online wallpaper. So how is social media influencing young people and their body image?
This current cohort of teenagers, they were born into a world of instant internet access, smartphones, social media. So they're quite relaxed about it. But then the adults in their lives, their teachers, their parents, are quite often demonizing it in a way that I don't think is particularly helpful. And the evidence backs me up on this. It's not social media in of itself that is the problem. It's how you use it. I'm trying to get them to really mindfully notice how the posts in their social media is making them feel. It's okay if they're challenged, and in fact, it's good if not everybody in their silo agrees with them all the time. But if somebody is posting something that makes them feel anxious or insecure or angry consistently, and there's no real point to it, block them. Or, the mute button is one of the best inventions ever, because people don't know they've been muted. And then look at what's left and go, what's missing? You can find role models, you can find people who inspire you and make you feel good about yourself and make you feel positive. And a key aspect of that does have to be the diversity, that we shouldn't be following people who just look like us.
According to the British Board of Film Classification, BBFC, more than half of children aged 11 to 13 have seen porn, mostly accidentally, and some by as early as age 7. But growing evidence does show that porn is affecting the way young people understand things like healthy relationships and sex and consent. So how do you think watching porn is affecting children and young people's body image?
What they're being exposed to in terms of body type is usually quite narrow and completely unrealistic. Like for girls, it's that very kind of Barbie-esque look, completely hairless, pneumatic, and very, very slender. And then for boys, there's a lot of insecurity around genital size. Let's think about this realistically. You're a teenager with the internet at your disposal. Of course you're going to look at porn. Of course you are. And we would have all done as well if we had had those resources at our disposal. But there's different types of porn out there. And I did for a while recommend a website called Make Love Not Porn, where all the bodies are real and all the orgasms are real. So it's kind of feminist porn and has consent at its heart, and it's more realistic, because I'm like, if you're curious and you want to know about sex, that's a better representation. It will actually teach you more. And then I just had schools saying to me, we can't direct children to your website if you're recommending pornography on your website, which I understand entirely. So I had to take it off. But in a way, it's a shame, because again, it's that I'm such a pragmatic person. And as you say, the evidence suggests, I think it's 95% by the time they're 16 are watching online pornography. And all parents think their kids are in the 5%. And you go, well, that, by definition, they can't be. So we, as much as it's unpalatable, we need to be realistic about this and try and find a third way where we're not just sticking our fingers in our ears and going, no, don't want to think about that.
The latest annual Girl Guiding Survey shows that girls are very aware of the fact that girls' value is based on their appearance and boys' value is based on their actions. And so the pressure and the scrutiny and the judgment that girls are under is really detrimental to their well-being and to their future prospects and opportunities as well. Because if a girl doesn't like the way she looks, it really holds her back. It can keep her from wanting to be photographed or wearing clothes she'd like to wear, or speaking up in class, or doing sports and exercise. As we know, that's just so important. How does this coincide with what you've been finding in talking to girls and young women?
Everything happens, I find, in year 9, which is where they're 13, 14. There's a running joke that I have with my LGBTQ plus friends that's the year that someone in the year group comes out. You know, a lot of people are kind of having their first experimentations into sex, and it's also where a lot of mental health issues arise, particularly self-harm and eating disorders. And it's also where I see girls in particular start to become really polarized in their attitudes to exercise. So you get the sporty ones who start to kind of define themselves as, I'm the captain of the sports team, they're really into it. And then the rest of them go, I don't think I want to do that anymore. It's a lot, like you say, to do with self-consciousness around the body and not wanting to be on display. And that can unfortunately set a motif which, you know, continues throughout life. And a cornerstone of being healthy physically is liking your body and respecting your body. And people, I think, a lot of the time think that there's a tension between body image positivity and being physically healthy. They see those two things as being at odds with each other, whereas in fact they completely go hand in hand. And you have to like yourself as you are first before making any sustainable, maintainable changes. I think year 9 is such a good intervention point, because you don't want to give anybody insecurities they didn't already have, but equally you want to grab them just at the moment that they're arising. And that does, in my experience, tend to be around that age.
Low body image satisfaction is connected to all these things like anxiety and depression and eating disorders. And yeah, no, I first heard you speak at a conference that was about men get eating disorders too. And we know that there's been a sharp increase in boys' dissatisfaction with their bodies and the pressures they're under to be fit and muscular and bulk up and, you know, have a six-pack and everything. But boys and men have never been encouraged to talk openly about their feelings. So it's not surprising that they don't really talk that much about these body image struggles. But tell us about what you think boys are up against these days in terms of body image.
Over the past maybe decades, there has been a concentrated effort to target men with similar beauty and fashion and fitness campaigns to the ones that have traditionally been targeted at women. So we've seen levels of body image satisfaction come in line. On average, women have a pretty straightforward body image shame trigger. And for men, the shame trigger tends to be around strength. And that's why I think the body image struggles that boys and men have very often tend to be around things like muscle building, these outward manifestations of strength. When you talk to girls and you say, yeah, you know, there's these multi-billion-pound industries who literally devote so much time and resource and money to making us feel like our bodies are our enemy, and we absorb that from a really early age, they all go, yeah, I recognize that immediately. When you say that to boys, they go, well, no, but what about health though? And what's wrong with wanting to be stronger? And I have fitness goals and that makes me feel good about myself. And all of that is completely valid. But it's like, how do you scoop out the toxic bit? I've done a lot of focus groups with young men, and they felt that when body image lessons at school claimed to be co-ed, it was literally boys were tacked on as an afterthought. So they got the impression that it was kind of like, this is a body image lesson for girls. Oh, and by the way, boys can experience this too. And with the talking about their feelings thing, I think that applies to men, let's say my age, I'm 40, so like 40 and above. But young men are much more emotionally articulate. The problem is that they are less likely to talk about their feelings using the vocabulary or in the environments that their female peers would. And teenage boys now, there is relatively so little stigma to them. You know, I'll ask them a question and they're like, they just tell me, you know, and I don't feel that resistance that I felt when I first started doing this job in 2008.
So can you name a few things that parents can focus on when talking to their kids about body image, both younger kids and older kids?
Look at what we're praising each other for. So if we really think about why we value the people around us, it's for these innate qualities. We like people because they're fun or they're kind or they're brave or they're a good listener. And so I think we can start telling people that. You know, the human brain, it learns unconsciously through repetition, and whatever we're seeing or hearing most often kind of helps to cement our belief systems, which in turn informs the way we see ourselves and informs the way we see the world. So I think we can start saying things like, I really enjoyed spending time with you today. That was really kind, well done. Or I've always admired that you are brave. Like what you said to me right at the beginning of this session, when you said that, I speak up a lot. That's nice to hear. And that's not something that you can measure or see in a photograph. My number one tip for parents with teenagers is very often teenagers don't accept the compliments they get from their parents, because they say, well, you're my mum or my dad, so you have to think that about me. So pay your child a compliment when you know that they can hear you, but they don't know that you know that they can hear you. So you're in a conversation with someone else and they're in earshot. So then it seems more authentic and it will sink in more.
How can you be body positive with your kids if you have a complicated relationship with your own body?
Children, they're just like sponges. They just absorb their environment. So if they're hearing you being negative about your body, they will start to emulate that, however much you're telling them that they're beautiful and perfect and all the rest of it. So I do think the most important thing any parent can do is address their own relationship with their body, and to try and role model the behavior that they would like to see. Sometimes parents say to me, oh, I've got two kids and one of them can just eat and they never put on a pound, but the other one is really struggling with their weight, but I don't want to feed one different from the other. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't feed one different from the other, because actually eating healthily is important regardless of what size you are. Exercising is important. Like, exercise is not something you do to lose weight. It's something that you do for your body, regardless of what it looks like. So introducing, we're doing this as a family because we all want to get healthier, and that takes away some of the stigma and the shame.
So finally, why is it important for parents to talk honestly and openly with their kids about body image?
Body image it's the root of so much. I mean, you've already talked about the Girl Guiding Attitude Survey, which showed that about half of 12 to 14-year-old girls are avoiding things at school because they don't like how they look. Sometimes when I tell people that I speak about body image in schools, they kind of go, there's so many bigger issues. The planet's literally dying and they need to learn their times tables and how to spell. And whilst all of that is true, I think the idea that body image is a fluffy subject is just completely wrong, because if you don't get that right, it has this sort of knock-on effect on so many other different things. So it's definitely worth investing the time. We should be exposed to a really wide range of different bodies, because then the message becomes there's tons of different ways to be human. You do you, which is a really healthy message.
Hi, I'm Leah, Director of Outspoken Sex Ed. We're out to make parents feel more comfortable and confident talking openly and honestly with their kids about sex and relationships topics, and even enjoy learning from them. Outspoken is a social enterprise, which means that we survive in large part thanks to your donations. So please head over to outspokeneducation.com. It's our great website where you can donate and sign up for our fantastic newsletter and begin having these conversations more easily and openly with your kids starting now.